Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. We have a very special fantasy football wide eye sports podcast for y'all today. We got 3 out of the 4 back today. Riley and Spoon joining me as always. We're missing Dalton. If you haven't watched the show before, there's usually 4 of us. But we are going to get into pretty much just fantasy football. We're just going to talk fantasy, everything about it, everything in and around it, our favorites, our sleepers, our everything. So we're going to get into it right after this. All right, Christian McCaffrey, number 1 overall pick every single year for the rest of our lives. I think we just go CMC 101 every year and see how it works out for us. Just kidding. Oh shit, it's up there. I didn't even realize I was messing around before we were on camera with my ring. Didn't even realize it was still up there. How you guys doing? You ready to talk a little fantasy football?
Oh, I'm ready.
I'm excited.
I
think I'm in 3 leagues with you this year, Brenner.
Yeah, we're in 3 leagues. I'm in 5 overall. You're in the majority of my leagues.
Yeah.
And I feel like in the last week, all of the group chats have started coming alive again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
August,
many
baby.
messages.
It's August, baby. The fantasy football group
You
chats
don't look
start.
at your phone for 30 minutes and you have 100 notifications.
I have the Undertaker's theme song set as everybody in the chat because it's that time of year, and then you're just like, oh shit, it's back, it's coming.
I think we experienced our longest rookie draft ever
Oh my
yesterday as
god!
well.
So,
It took like 7 hours until we finally figured it out.
We're all 3 in a league, and they decided to do a separate rookie draft for some godforsaken unknown
It's a
reason.
first-year league.
It's a first-year dynasty.
League.
First-year dynasty, and they decided, let's do 2 separate drafts. Let's make it harder than it needs to be. So we do this draft, and we go through the we voted. The league voted. I was outvoted, obviously. So we go through this draft, but the commissioner was writing down the pick on a notepad, and then he would send the picture in the group chat and tell us who was next. And so it had to make its way through everybody in the chat, and it was just 2 rounds. Yeah, it was just 2 rounds in a 10-man league, and it took like 10 hours. It was crazy. But that's the fun of fantasy football. I mean, that's what it's about. It's about these cool little cliche things that happen. You know, we got another draft coming up. We got the main draft for that league coming up on Sunday. I know we have me and Spoon have another draft coming up in a couple weeks. We're all 3.
Monday.
We're all 3 already in another dynasty league, so we got that rolling for us. That's already well underway. Shout out to Riley. I think, are you running on 2 straight back-to-backs, or was it 1?
I think it was runner-up in 1 or... No, I think it was the DeMar Hamlin game. I ended up getting screwed in like the game before the championship.
Either way, props to champ. Respect where respect's due. So we're all former champions of one league or another here. I think me and Spoon went to back-to-back against each other a couple years back. He won 1, I won 1. Spoon went to 3 straight in that stretch, 1, 2 out of 3. Kept him from the 3-peat over here. Had to stop him in his tracks. But let's jump right into things. I just want to get from you guys a couple sleepers or guys that you think that you're going to pop off, guys that you really like. They don't have to be the quote-unquote sleeper, like, oh, this dude's going ADP 112, and he should be going ADP 35 overall. Like, we don't have to get that into it. Just give us some thoughts on what you guys like and what you're seeing. Spoon, you want to go first? Riley, you want to go first?
Okay. I mean, it's not really. I don't really have sleepers. I just have like later round picks that I feel like with the group that they're around, like it's a great value. And one of the people that I have right now is, hold on, I have him right here. I just want to make sure I know where he's going. Yeah, he's going as the 53rd wide receiver off the board, and that's Jacoby Myers. So I really like Jacoby Myers. I know he did pretty good last year, but I was reading an article earlier today, and it said that who was it? Fowler, who's been visiting a lot of training camps. He literally pointed out that Jacoby Myers is just steps ahead of where he was last year. So just keep an eye on that. I really like where he's going.
Gardner Minshew will say, fuck it. He'll throw it out there. He'll throw it out.
I agree. But yeah, I really like the value of where he's at and could possibly finish. mean, I think his ceiling could be a top 20 receiver, and you'd be getting him at 53. That's in fantasy. And you'd be getting him at 53. I think that's good value.
Are you saying top 20 receiver, or top 20 player?
Receiver.
See, but that puts him right around like the 40 to 50 players. So that's not really like he's going where he's supposed to. Like,
no, he's going as the 53rd receiver off the board.
Oh, yeah, 53rd player off the board.
He's going.
Man, that puts it. By the time you factor in quarterbacks, tight ends, and running backs, that puts him right about there.
No, he's going. He's going as the 53rd player off the board. I'll even tell you, if he even finishes in the top 25 as a wide receiver in fantasy,
huge value.
That's huge value as the 53rd wide receiver going off the board. I love it there. He's right around where Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel, Romeo Doubs, Brandon Cooks is, and I would take Jacoby Myers over any of it.
Absolutely. I like it. Riley, you got anybody?
So my first one is a wide receiver for the Jets, Garrett Wilson.
He's the number one name on my list. I'll cross him out right now.
Last year, he finished 26th out of wide receivers. I think simply being Aaron Rodgers' number one wide receiver makes you a top 15 wide receiver. I think he's up for a big year.
I mean, his ADP is 15.
Yeah. I mean, right now he's going as the 7th receiver off the board.
Yeah. I think.
So he's up there. I don't think he's like a sleeper, but I mean,
no. It doesn't have to be a sleeper.
I was just saying, I could easily see him finishing in the top. He could finish as the number one fantasy receiver.
He could finish number one overall player.
Yeah.
So
but
I see it.
My second one is another Wilson for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it is not the Wilson you're thinking.
Okay.
I am thinking of second round pick Roman Wilson.
Okay.
With the Deontay Johnson trade, there is a battle for the number 2 wide receiver in Pittsburgh between him and Van Jefferson. And I mean, this is a guy in Yahoo leagues who you may be picking up off the waiver wire that by the end of the year, I think is going to be the second wide receiver.
Yeah, now, especially with that like Golden Tate, Jermaine Kearse vibe. Sorry, Jaron Kearse is safety for the Cowboys. But he's got that smaller, more shifty profile that Russ likes on the seams. Very, very sneaky pick.
No, and I think maybe the quarterback situation or the offense, he may not put up crazy stats, but if you're picking up a number 2 wide receiver off the waiver wire in a pinch, I mean, that I think he could be up for a sneaky year this year.
Yeah,
well, I was going to say I actually had a receiver for the Steelers, but it wasn't Roman Wilson.
Ooh.
It was Van Jefferson.
Okay, it was the other way. He goes the other way.
I'm going the other way. So I mean,
the other way with
he's a vet. I know that the thing is that people always like dog on Russell Wilson. He was my MVP 2 weeks last year, where he threw 300 plus yards. 300 plus yards, like 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Like, if he does that, that means that, I mean,
Steelers are going to win some ball games.
Yeah, Steelers are going to win some ball games, first of all. You're also going to have George, like, the yards got to go somewhere. He's going to get them all.
So we'll talk more about this at the end of the episode. But both you guys could be kind of SOL on this because the Steelers may have a new wide receiver by the end of the day.
Yeah, we can discuss that later.
We'll discuss more on after we talk fantasy. But stick around because you know who may be traveling to the Steel City. So, all right, you got anybody else, Riley? Anybody else you want to talk about?
This one's not so much of a sleeper, but someone I think could have a huge year is Cole Kmet, the tight end for the Bears.
Yep, he's on mine.
He typically goes pretty high as far as tight end goes, but he's never quite gotten into the top 5 production wise. He's gotten above top 10, but never cracked the top 5.
Brother, the list I'm looking at right now has him going off at 16
for tight ends.
And I think that's a steal for Cole Kmet.
I think that's ridiculous. Like that, I'm personally offended by that.
So I'm just going to add to what you're saying. I watched a little bit.
I mean, hold on.
Listen. I've watched a little bit of preseason, and what I did see from Caleb Williams is it looks like he likes his tight end Cole Kmet. That's what I've noticed.
He had 6 attempts. Let's calm down.
Even if he has the same,
like 3 of those went to Cole Kmet.
Even if he has the same receptions as last year, I think with Caleb, a lot of those receptions are going to be further down the field.
He's not going to get anywhere near the receptions he got last year.
But I think he'll replace that with yardage and touchdowns.
But he's going to have half the receptions. He's not going to have double the...
He won't have half the receptions.
There's a really good chance that Keenan Allen and DJ Moore both have 100 catches. Ooh. That does not leave a whole lot of room for Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid. Sorry, Cole Kmet. I said Dalton Kincaid. Cole Kmet.
I still think his red zone value is there. He
was, absolutely, absolutely. I could absolutely see a world in which he has 10 touchdown catches.
Yes,
absolutely. But I do not see him having more than 500 yards, 600 yards. That would be a high ceiling for him, in my opinion, just based on the fact that you have other guys there. I mean, he's not going to have 750 yards if the other two have 1,200 apiece. You know, that would be a lot from Caleb. I mean, Caleb would have to be in the MVP race for that to happen. Like, you say that, but this is
you're kind of speaking it into existence.
You're putting a lot of undue pressure on Caleb, and this is going to be the.
I'm not putting undue pressure on him. I'm just saying with the things he can do, his catches aren't going to be the same as they were with Fields. And I don't think he has half the receptions, but I think he will go down in receptions, but increase in yards. And he had 700 yards last year.
Yeah, I know, and I think he'll have like 350 to 500 yards this year because I think his receptions will get cut in half. I would be shocked if his receptions were more than 50% of what he had because Keenan Allen's going to eat up a ton of that, and they're going to run the ball more. Keenan Allen is a volume guy. He needs to be fed the ball a lot to succeed. And DJ Moore is kind of the same way. DJ Moore's a little bit less of that, in my opinion, but you also want to bring Rome on. You want to bring him in. You want to get him confidence as a rookie. You don't want him stepping into his sophomore season with no confidence. So you got a lot of weapons there. You got to spread the ball around. It's going to be hard to feed everybody. That's why these super teams that people, there's so much talent here, they rarely ever work out because people want the ball, and you can't give the ball to everybody. So we'll see. We'll see. He's a talented player. He's a top 5 tight end from a talent perspective. No question about it, in my opinion. I just don't think the fantasy value is there. But that's just me. That's just me. I'm just a guy. But Garrett Wilson was also my number 1 on my sleeper / star list. You know, just a guy that, you know, he was really good last year. He's getting Aaron Rodgers. We saw what Aaron Rodgers did with Devontae Adams. We expect a similar style connection between the two with the way Garrett Wilson is so similar to Devontae. So I expect him to do really, really good. I have 3 running backs that are my sleepers or stars, as you will. And number 1 on my list is Rachaad White. Nobody's talking about Rachaad White. This dude balled out last season. Yeah, he's going late. He's got 41 ADP, 41st average pick in the draft. Like, this dude could be a weekly RB2, like set it and forget it type RB2, and he has potential RB1 upside. Now, I don't think he'll reach it, but it's there. Like, the receivers in Tampa are getting older. They definitely like to run the ball down there. And especially in PPR leagues, this dude was catching 4 to 6 balls a game out of the backfield last year. This dude was, he was getting the targets. So I really like
very good strength of schedule too.
Yeah, number 2 overall strength of schedule. Great, just great all around value there. Great everything. My second running back is Ramondre Stevenson, Patriots running back, and I think just based off the we need to protect Drake May as much as possible train, they're going to run the rock. They just extended him. They're going to feed him the football. And I believe this dude going at 67 is a weekly kind of same thing as Rachaad White, a weekly RB2. You're going to be able to set it and forget it. You're not going to have to worry. And you're getting this guy at 67 overall. Like, that's a huge value in my opinion. And then the last running back I have and the second to last player I have is somebody who, it's going to sound really weird, is like a sleeper pick, right? Just because we've known this guy for so long. He's been so good for so long. He's been so dynamic. And that's Alvin Kamara. The number one strength of schedule in the entire league for running backs is the New Orleans Saints. They have the easiest running back schedule, or easiest schedule for fantasy running backs of any team in the league. He's going at 37.9, so basically 38th overall is where he's going. That's late third round, early fourth round, mid third round, depending on what kind of league you're drafting in. And you know he's going to get the targets. You know he's going to get the carries. Like, he's going to get the production. He's going late, easy strength of schedule. No brainer, in my opinion. All three of those guys are set it and forget it running back 2s, and, you know, depending on the week, running back 1s, depending on the matchup. So I love all three of those guys.
I have another running back to add, too.
Yeah, go for it.
So I was going to wait and see which ones you said before I said his name, but
yes.
Zach Moss stands out a little bit, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, too.
Yeah, so I thought originally, like, I was all in on Zach Moss. Like, I have him in our Dynasty League, and I was like, oh, baby, this is going to be good. And I've seen a lot of noise from Bengals camp that the rookie over there is giving him a run for his money.
Really?
And so there's kind of they're thinking maybe a RB by committee type situation.
Yeah.
They haven't said, like, for sure what's going down over there, so I'm trying not to speak on it too much because I don't know yet. But just Zach Moss isn't as sure a thing as I thought he was, and I really thought he was like. I was like, man, he's gonna have that Joe Mixon role. He showed in Indy that he can be that guy. Like, when Jonathan Taylor was out, they're gonna trust him. They're gonna give him the rock. This is perfect. And I don't know yet. We'll see. But I do have one last player on my list. It's quarterback. And it's a high upside quarterback. And that's Anthony Richardson. Okay. This dude's going 50.8, basically 51 ADP. And he had, I think, 3 rushing touchdowns in 2 games last season, if I remember correctly. 2 or 3 rushing touchdowns in 2 games that he started. Like, his upside for what he could be is Josh Allen, Cam Newton-esque, and I think he's going to be great. Now, jury's still out. He got hurt early last season. They said, we're just going to sit you the whole season. We're not going to risk anything. We don't want you getting hurt. You're the future of our franchise, and we want to take care of you. So to me, that says this guy balled out in practice, and they saw something like, oh shit, we don't want this guy getting injured at all. Like, this, we need to protect this man. Like, this is our future of our franchise. And you don't just do that if you're, 60% sure he's that guy.
I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
How are you so confident you would draft him as your QB1?
I do have him as a QB1. I have him in our Dynasty League. He is my QB1.
Okay.
So I mean, like, a little bit of bias there showing that, but I drafted him last year.
And I did not even realize that you had him.
So I absolutely have confidence that he can be a QB1. I really do believe he will have a Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Cam Newton like impact on fantasy games.
I do think it helps him going into his second year with as little tape. Absolutely. That helps anybody. But I really believe this is a guy we could see rush for 10 touchdowns and pass for 25. Like, I firmly believe that that's a realistic expectation of him, not like a we'll see. Like, that's what I expect of him. And I expect, 35 to 4,000 yards passing, 500 yards rushing, 10 touchdowns on the ground, 25 through the air. Like, that sounds like a lot, but like, that's the ceiling I see for this guy. I see him doing that. And that is the way the NFL is trending with these more athletic, less passing yards, more rushing touchdowns.
Lamar changed the game forever.
I have one more late wide receiver.
All right, hit us.
Darnell Mooney. Wide receiver wide receiver 2 in Atlanta right now. Kirk Cousins has proven.
But he's option 4.
Former 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah.
He's option 4. You have Kyle Pitts, you have Drake London, and you have Bijan. Like he's the fourth option there.
And you are the Kirk Cousins guy. How does he does he
Kirk,
like his
Kirk loves
twos?
big safety blankets. Kirk loves a big old safety blanket. That's why I think Kyle Pitts is going to have a resurgence. That's why I think Drake London's going to have a resurgence. But Bijan is obviously going to get used.
I'm not high on Drake London.
Drake London will see at least 130 targets. At least. Minimum is 130. Like Kirk loves that big body safe target, and he abuses that. Like when Stephon Diggs was there, like Steph would get so mad at Kirk because Steph is a very great route runner, but he's a smaller target. So Kirk doesn't feel as confident throwing to that. So he tends to throw to a guy like Adam Thielen, who's 6'2", who's got a bigger catch radius, or at the time, Kyle Rudolph, who's 6'5", has a bigger catch radius than guys like Diggs, who's 6 foot, 220, 215, and can move really well. But Kirk and don't get me wrong, he gave Diggs a shot with the Minneapolis Miracle. He'll throw to Darnell Mooney. I'm not trying to say he won't throw to him. I'm just saying, as far as like fantasy studs go, I would take a shot on 3 other guys in the Atlanta offense before I touch Mooney.
That's fair.
But that's, once again, I'm just a guy. I've been wrong plenty of times where Spoon has been right. So I'm not trying to say that Spoon is absolutely wrong. I'm just saying he's absolutely wrong. So
okay.
I'm just kidding. But next up, I got my lists. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on them. I got some lists here. I have my top 6 wide receivers, top 7 RBs, and then top 5 tight ends, top 5 quarterbacks.
Is this
in order?
Fantasy or just
fantasy. These are my thoughts and how I would take them in order. So we'll start with tight ends. We'll start in an easy spot. Okay, my number 1 overall tight end, Travis Kelce. Pretty cut, dry, simple. The Rashee Rice situation's murky. Hollywood Brown's hurt. Like, there's a lot of situations going on in Kansas City with the receiving group. Kelsey's Mahomes' favorite target. He's going to get the work. Number 2 on my list, Kyle Pitts. I'm going to say it.
Really?
Like, I have never been a Kyle Pitts fan, and our buddy Christian, love him to death, has drafted Kyle Pitts relentlessly over the years and been bitten in the ass every time. But I think this is the year Kyle Pitts could really have a breakout season. Kirk loves a good, safe tight end, and I think, he really has a great opportunity to get a lot of targets. Number 3, Sam Laporta. Obviously, we saw 10 tuds as a rookie. We saw what he could do with Jared Goff. Jared Goff's another one of those pocket passing quarterbacks that loves a good safety blanket in a tight end. Home run hit for the Detroit Lions and Sam Laporta. I think that he will, be a top 3 tight end this year. And then number 4, I have George Kittle, because George Kittle, I do believe Brandon Aiyuk won't be there. And because he won't be there, somebody's going to get a little bit more on the plate. And I think George Kittle's the perfect guy to take over. Debo is more of a gadget guy. CMC can only do so much. I mean, he's already done immense things for them, so he can only do so much. So it naturally seems either a new wide receiver like Brandon Jennings, or somebody's going to have to come in, or you just feed Kittle a little more. And I think that'll work out for fantasy owners. And then my number 5 spot's actually a tie. I couldn't pick between these two. I have Dalton Kincaid and Trey McBride. Same situation going on in Buffalo. Diggs is gone. Josh Allen's got to have somewhere to throw the ball, and I think the guy he trusts the most right now is Dalton Kincaid. So easy progression there. And then Trey McBride showed us what he could do last season with no Kyler Murray, and I am one of the rare people who believe that Kyler Murray is a good quarterback. So at least a good fantasy quarterback. I shouldn't say good overall. He's a good fantasy quarterback, and I believe he can get yards. He can get touchdowns. He just doesn't always win games. So I like it. What do you guys think of that list? You guys got any names other than obviously Cole Kmet? You guys named that earlier. I don't think he'll have the volume to meet that. But
I'm gonna be honest. I don't like it at all. Not one bit. Here's my big thing.
Oh, no. You did say
where did
right?
Andrews?
I have him outside. Zay Flowers is going to take over this season, man.
Okay. Well, here's my big thing. You wanted a dog on my Darnell Mooney take, so I'm going to dog on your Kyle Pitts take.
This just feels like this.
When's the last time Kirk Cousins had a top 10 fantasy tight end? He doesn't use them.
Last time he had a good tight end.
And when was that? Who?
2018, Kyle Rudolph, probably.
Yeah, but he was never like top 5 where you're putting Kyle Pitts right now.
No, but he's never had a tight end.
Probably like 8.
I mean,
like
Jordan
9,
Reed. Jordan Reed, when he was in Washington, Jordan Reed, year in and year out, was a top 5 fantasy tight end. Kirk has just not had a weapon like that at the tight end position.
He does. It's because he doesn't use them. So I don't have Kyle Pitts. He doesn't use them at all. I don't have Kyle Pitts in my top 5.
He doesn't use.
Not put him there. I would probably put Kyle Pitts more like 7, maybe 8, around where Kyle Rudolph was when he had Kirk Cousins throwing him the ball around that same.
Kyle
spot.
Rudolph was like 32 at that point. You're getting a 25-year-old prime Kyle Pitts who's like 6'7" and has a insane catch radius. Kirk's going to throw him
haven't
like
seen
80 balls.
much from him that has impressed me at all.
Kyle
Don't fall for the trap, guys. Don't fall for the trap again.
Kyle
Don't fall
Pitts
for the trap.
is the Trevor Lawrence of tight ends.
Yeah. Don't fall for it. Don't do it.
Baby. Kyle Pitts.
Don't pick Kyle Pitts and sticks whenever you could take, I don't know, just about anything. I would take Jake Ferguson probably over him. I'd probably take Dalton Kincaid over him.
Who's going to throw him the football?
Who?
Someone.
Ferguson.
Ferguson? Prescott.
You sure? Sure he's not going to start?
I hope so.
Yeah,
We'll
let's
see.
say. We'll
At
see.
least for 1 year.
At least for 1 year. All right. We'll move on. Speaking of quarterbacks, we'll move on to my top 5 quarterbacks list. So I went back and forth on number 1 and number 2 a lot. And I thought really long and hard about it. And I looked up a stat. I looked up what quarterback was on more winning championship fantasy football teams last year than any other. And shocker, my number 1 and number 2 quarterbacks were number 1 and number 2 on this list. And I went in the order that they were last year. I couldn't decide, so I went off that order because it's kind of a 1A, 1B situation, not really a 1 and a 2 to me. But Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, like both of those guys, fantasy studs. I mean, just league winners at the quarterback position. These are guys you're taking in the 3rd or late 2nd round if you're in a 12-man league because you're not going to get them. They make that big a difference. And I couldn't pick between the two. So Lamar was on, I believe it was like 35% of all championship teams last year, and Josh Allen was on like 32% of all championship teams last year. So like 70%. Yeah, like almost 70% of fantasy leagues that won their fantasy teams that won their championship had Lamar or Josh Allen quarterbacking. So
are you telling the people at home to draft a quarterback in the 3rd or 4th round?
If these two are available in the 4th round, I would say no question. If they're in the 3rd round, for me, that's early. I don't like to take a quarterback to like the 5th round. So, but
shit, I wait till usually like the 6th or the 7th round.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I usually pick somewhere between 5 and 7.
Because why would I get Anthony Richardson going so high? Which he's not going that high, but I liked your take on him. But I could take Jordan Love as the 10th quarterback off the board and be happy.
Yeah. I'm not saying you have to pick these guys. I'm just saying that the stats don't lie, and they were both way up there on championship teams. So,
they accounted for 60% of all.
Yeah,
all championships.
Almost 70. But my number 3 guy on the list, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, I think, is going to have just an absolute rocket ship of a season. Me and Spoon were both high on the hype train last season, and we fell short with the injuries. Not a lot we can do about that. I believe that this will be the season he straps it on and goes hard. And then at number 4, because of the tush push, you have to have Jalen Hurts in your top 5. He gets too many touchdowns not to be in the top 5 fantasy football quarterback conversation. He gets all those sneaks. It's inevitable. He's going to have 10 rushing touchdowns on the ground. He's going to have 20 through the air. You can't really leave him out. And then my number 5 was originally Anthony Richardson. And then I did a 1A, 1B thing again and snuck Kyler Murray in there because I think every time Kyler Murray's played a healthy season, he's been a top 10 fantasy quarterback. So it's just I believe that in his new offensive scheme, having a year in the scheme will really help him and get him to not rocket ship into the top 5, but kind of be that fringe top 5 quarterback that he's always teasing us with, but consistently. So,
but Brenner, where's Patrick Mahomes?
He's the best quarterback in the world. He doesn't have the weapons to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback. Okay, you go back and look at last season. He was not a top 5 fantasy quarterback. He's not that guy. He is that guy, but he's not that guy. So those are my top 5 fantasy quarterbacks. You guys, how do you feel about those?
I don't hate it. I don't know your tight end. Like, I mean,
any names you thought I left off there?
No, not really. I mean, you listed everybody off just about that I would probably have up there.
I don't. If Josh Allen is the second best quarterback at the end of this year, I think that means he's won an MVP.
Well, I just want to point out that Lamar won an MVP last year, and Josh Allen still had 72 more fantasy points than Lamar Jackson did.
Yeah.
Like a lot more.
Josh is on his 4th straight season of 40 or more total touchdowns, and it would take a lot for him to keep that streak going.
The problem with Josh Allen is he turns the ball over.
Terrible too.
Well, that too, but he turns the ball over a ton. So if you're playing in a league where you get dinged points for turning the ball over, that's huge. Like, I don't draft Josh Allen then, right? Like, I stay away from him in that case because he has 15 to 20 turnovers every year. So it's a lot. So, and Lamar does too. He fumbles. He doesn't have the interception numbers, but he fumbles. But Allen has the fumbles and the interception numbers. Josh Allen will have games where he just goes full Brett Favre, says forget, and just throws it up 30 times a game.
But where Josh Allen's going to make up for those points lost and interceptions, he's going to make up for in rushing touchdowns. Huge value.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying in leagues where you get dinged for that kind of stuff. That's all I was saying. I'm not saying like the regular leagues. But all right, move on to. You guys want wide receivers or running backs first? Which one you want?
No, I feel like wide receivers will be easier. So
all right.
That was more simple.
So a couple of these guys have asterisks because of their current situation. I'm sure you can infer what that means from the start. So number 1 on my list, Tyreek Hill. Obviously, Tyreek Hill. It's always Tyreek Hill, right? Like he's Tyreek Hill. He got voted number 1 player overall in the league last year by his peers. Tyreek Hill. I don't think I need to say anything more there. Jamar Chase is my number 2 receiver. I believe him and Joe Burrow are going to have an absolute unit of a season. I expect Jamar Chase to have at least 1,500 yards and at least 10 touchdowns. I expect him to go the fuck off. I expect 130 receptions, 140 receptions, not targets. I expect him to be in the 180s for targets. And then third on my list, A.J. Brown. In the new offensive scheme they're going to be running, they're going to see a lot more man coverage. A.J. Brown was the number 1 receiver against man coverage last season. And when they took that away from the Eagles and didn't run man coverage, A.J. struggled. They're not going to be able to do that this season with Saquon Barkley in the backfield. A.J. Brown is going to eat. He's gonna eat a lot. And I really like the way A.J. Brown is going. And then fourth on my list, we have Garrett Wilson because of the fact that Aaron Rodgers is back. If Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, I expect him to be a top 5 fantasy wide receiver. And I can see Spoon over there.
He's grimacing in pain.
I don't know how you can. We expect this dude to be like Devontae Adams, who led the league every year by like a mile.
I don't think it's because of who you're saying. I think it's because of who you have not said.
There's
fine. 2. I don't know how you haven't said the 2.
I know who you're thinking of.
There's
and
2. There's 2 obvious ones.
Yeah, they're both.
And you're putting A.J. Brown above them?
Yes.
What the fuck?
Hold on. Hear me out.
The Eagles have a better running game this year, right? With Saquon in the backfield. That's touches away from A.J. Brown.
That's fine. The Eagles ran the ball a shit ton last year, and A.J. Brown didn't struggle. But they didn't struggle for touches for A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's going to get his, or he's going to throw a huge bitch fit, and Sirianni doesn't want to hear it. So Brown's going to get his. Don't worry.
Okay. He got it last year. He was the 6th highest ranked wide receiver. You're still missing 2 people above him. That's all I got to say.
Nope. JJ is next on my list. JJ is that guy. You have to have him on every list. And then Ceedee Lamb is final on my list because Ceedee Lamb may not even fucking play this year. Ceedee Lamb may sit at home all season. So taking him in the top 5 when he may not even play would be irresponsible. If he does play,
a little risque.
If he does play, he has wide receiver 1 upside. Absolutely, no question about it. But as of right now, he's not going to play this season. So if you're drafting today, you can't take him top 3. You can't take him top 5 because he may not play. Like, how do you take a guy with your if you take a guy who's your number 1 pick and he doesn't play, you are losing your fantasy league guaranteed. There is no question about it. You will lose your league. You can't not have a first round pick and win. So that's the only reason. He has he's going to get 180, 190 targets. He's going to get the big numbers if he plays, especially if he plays with Dak. So I'm saying if he plays anywhere, if he gets traded, wide receiver 1 upside for Ceedee Lamb. If JJ had a quarterback that wasn't named Sam Darnold, wide receiver 1 upside.
Yeah. That's fair.
Okay. That's my only reason. All right. So I know it sounded crazy to start.
It did sound crazy.
I know it sounded crazy, but I had
reasonable.
I had a reason. I had good reason. Thank you for sticking with me through that. I knew it was going to be hard to listen to, but it was
very
there.
Hard.
There was a reason. All right. So other than that, any other comments, questions, or concerns on the wide receivers?
I think you snubbed Amon-Ra St. Brown out of this list, but that's fine. He has a pretty easy schedule too.
Yeah, it was hard for me to put him above Tyreek or Chase. And I think A.J. Brown's just going to see so much man coverage. I'm thinking he's seeing 70% man. They're going to go to him so much. I think he's going to have such a big season in this new offense they're running over there. But we'll see. Amon-Ra would be the next one up on my list. Absolutely, without question. So if that makes any difference, he's going to eat too.
If we're going to talk wide receivers for a second, I think Puka's going too high at 8.
Yeah, with the Cooper Kupp being there, Cooper was getting
apparently that's what I was going to say. Apparently from training camp, Cooper Kupp has still been the number 1 receiver out there.
Yeah. Puka was only so big because Kupp was injured for a good portion of last season. And even when Kupp came back, Puka was still the guy, but Puka was still the guy because they already had that momentum. They weren't going to rip the ball out of his hands while he has all that momentum. It's totally different when you're starting a new season. Totally different. I firmly agree with you. He's going too high. I think a lot of people are going to be very disappointed when he has a 4-week stretch of 3, 7, 9, 4. And they're like, why did I take this guy at pick 8? But I think it's time to move on to running backs. And I am a big RB hero drafter. So if you're not familiar with what that means you take one staple running back early, stack a bunch of receivers around him, and then draft running backs late. You take that one guy in the running back room because it's hard to get multiple good running backs. The whiff rate is really high. You're going to miss on running backs. So,
I'm the opposite.
Spoon's
I've always been a running back guy. I love. Oh, did I cut out?
Yeah, you cut out for a second.
I did. Okay. I'm the type of guy that drafts my running back first round, receiver second, and then get another top running back third round because as soon as that third, fourth round's over, the running back tier just it's down.
Yep.
And you can always find a wide receiver that's gonna, I just gave you a whole list of wide receivers that should do better than where they're drafted at.
Yeah. I'm about to give you my top 7 running backs, though. You ready for this list?
I think number 1 should be unanimous between all of us.
Number 1, Dalvin Cook.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Has he
number 1
signed?
No, I think he's
still a free
unsigned.
agent.
Yeah, I don't even know.
That was one of the most mysterious, just downhill fast.
Yeah. It's what it is. It's what the NFL is. That's what running backs do, Riley. You'll learn. You're young still. You're in your early 20s still.
It was
You're young.
overnight. He just woke up and couldn't play football.
This is what running backs do. Every year is a new one. And if you call 1-800-HELP-A-BACK, you too can support running backs in need. And if you don't want to do that, take a second to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel and tell running backs to get the fuck over it and be men about it. But number one, Christian McCaffrey, obviously every year that he's on the San Francisco 49ers, until we see something different, he is RB1. He's the number one running back off the board. He's a league winner.
Player off the board.
What?
Number one player off the board.
Ooh. That's a curse. Number one overall is a curse. I think we're going to like 8 straight years now that the number one overall player was a bust. Like, and we're not talking like, oh, they finished top 5. Like they finished like top 50 in the league. So it's just one of those things that it is, year to year that just happens.
But coincidentally enough, Brenner has a number one overall.
That's a dynasty draft. That's totally different. There's one draft in a dynasty draft. That's different. We're talking about redraft leagues. So my number 2 running back, and the reason I didn't like Spoon's Darnell Mooney pick earlier, Bijan Robinson. Bijan's going to cook. Bijan's going to get in that kitchen. He's going to make a Popeye. He's going to make some turnovers. He's going to make a little bit of everything.
As long as they use him.
Oh, they'll use him.
As long as they use him this year.
Their new offensive coordinator was the Rams pass game coordinator last year.
Okay.
Totally different offense than Arthur Smith ever ran. Arthur Smith is gone and the Atlanta offense has been set free with all their weapons. By far and away, this Bijan Robinson pick would be very smart by you. He's a league winner. He's going to catch, 3 to 5 balls a game every week, have 6 targets, and he's going to get 18 carries. Like, league winner status. Next up, Breece Hall. We've all heard about it. Breece did really well last season without Aaron Rodgers in the offense, and this year the defense is going to have to respect Rodgers. So he's going to, I think his rookie year, he averaged like 5.8 yards a carry. The dude can absolutely chunk off runs, and he's really dangerous. He could be a league winner. I don't think his ceiling is quite as high as Bijan's, but he is up there, and he is something to be feared if you're going against him any week during the season. Next up, Jonathan Taylor, revenge tour. He's one of the league's best, just plain and simple. He's one of the league's best running backs, and he should be respected as such. And I definitely think he can be a top 5 fantasy running back. And then number 5. This guy is an enigma to me because I don't know what he's going to be, because the running back position always gets hurt for this team. Always. And so I'm kind of putting a little asterisk on there because he might end up just getting hurt before the season even starts. But Derrick Henry for the Baltimore Ravens is, maybe the most scary threat in the league, having Lamar and Derrick Henry in the same backfield. As far as running goes, you have to have a loaded box every play. Like, there's no play in which you're playing 2 high safeties. Like, if you're playing 2 high, there's hand the ball off Derrick Henry, hand the ball off Derrick Henry, hand the ball off Derrick Henry. And then I love
the touchdown upside that he's going to have too.
Oh, massive.
I love that.
Yeah. So he has RB1 upside. I just don't know if he will get the touches that he has got in the past because of Lamar's rushing ability. I think he'll be somewhere like 15 to 20 touches a game instead of 25 to 30 touches a game. And that brings his ceiling down just enough to bring him into the edge of the top 5, but with RB1, like number 1 overall upside, obviously. He's not going to catch the ball a ton, which does ding him a little bit, especially in PPR leagues. So there's that. And then in the last 2 spots here, once again in a tie situation, I have Kyron Williams for the LA Rams, guy who was getting 18 to 25 touches a game. Every game he was healthy last season, in and out. McVay was using him like prime Todd Gurley almost. Not quite that far, but pretty close. And then Saquon Barkley. Obviously, the Eagles are going to run the ball. The offensive line's a little bit different. It's not as good as it was last season, but it's still a top 5 unit. They are absolutely going to run the piss out of the ball week in, week out. They're going to pound the rock. And how do you defend the tush push if Saquon Barkley is 5 yards behind it? How do you defend that?
You use this point with Jalen Hurts But with Saquon Barkley, why are you risking your quarterback in that? Have Saquon run the tush push.
No, they won't do that because that eliminates the threat of a pass. The reason the tush push is so good is because there's always going to be the threat of them. Like they did it last year with DeAndre Swift. They ran out of it off like a jet sweep, or not a jet sweep, but like a sweep style play out of it. Mm-hmm. And so you have to respect his ability to get the ball.
Line?
Well, on the goal line, that's why would you not have Saquon Barkley pushing Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts can squat like 700 pounds. That's what makes
if Jalen Hurts breaks his leg, your season's over.
But he's not going to break his leg on a quarterback sneak. That's never. I can't think of any quarterback that's gotten hurt on a quarterback sneak.
Patrick Mahomes did, and they didn't. No, I just know this from Nick Wright. Patrick Mahomes got hurt on a quarterback sneak. They didn't let him run the ball on a designed play for like 2 years until the Super Bowl.
Was that his ankle?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was when he messed up his ankle. The Chiefs did not call
that
it
was a sneak. Run. That was a sneak. I thought that was like
according to Nick Wright.
Okay, I'm not gonna argue it because I don't know. I just thought for some reason in my head I thought that was like a quarterback draw type situation. But I could be wrong. Could definitely be wrong on that. That's just what's sticking in my head. Not gonna argue that with you because I don't know for sure.
No,
but yeah,
you just said that. Now that was the only instance I could think.
I mean, it's just the upside is like invincibility, and the downside is like maybe could get hurt, which is the downside on every play. Every play could get hurt. So the upside is like you literally cannot stop this play, even if we literally go, hey, we're gonna do this. You should like line up right. We're gonna do the tush push, and they still couldn't stop it. So, what do you think of my running back list? Anybody I leave out? Anybody you think should be higher, lower?
I'm fine with that one.
Fine with that one?
That was a good one.
Very good one.
All right. Well, that's it for the fantasy rankings. That's all I got. You guys got anything else you want to say before we cover some weekly news? Just a few news notes here for the week. It is Tuesday, August 13th. JJ McCarthy announced today torn meniscus, so he will have meniscus surgery. They're going in, and it could, by the time this comes out, it could already been reported on, but they're going in to do surgery, and they're going to decide when they get in there if they need to do the shave down surgery, which is like a 4 to 6 week recovery, or the meniscus repair, which involves them cutting the rest of the meniscus and then repairing it, which is a 3 to 6 month recovery. So they'll decide which they do when they get in there. I think they should do the 3 to 6 month recovery, keep him out his rookie season. Don't force him in. Don't force anything. This kid's 21 years old. He should just have his whole career out in front of him. We don't need him to start right now. I say take care of the body. You know, have a year under your belt of learning the offense, knowing the ins and outs. They have simulators now. You can get the speed of the game down in different ways in practice. I'm not super worried about that. I would really like to see him just sit his rookie year, let Sam Darnold have it, and just let him run with it. Any thoughts?
I mean, I think by week 6 you're going to be wishing you had JJ McCarthy.
I mean, that's fine. That's fine.
Because I don't think highly of Sam Darnold,
and that's fine.
Unless I don't hate it. Had a career come around in San Fran.
I don't know.
I think it's unfortunate for the kid. I mean, you get your first preseason game, and now you have to have surgery. You're not going to get the rest of the preseason. Even if you knew you weren't starting, at least it's games you get to play that he is now going to miss out on.
Yeah. It's a thing, but that's football, right? That's football.
Yes.
Spoon, you got anything, or are you good?
Nope.
All right, cool. Last couple news and notes here. Ceedee Lamb still not at Cowboys practice. Spoon, you got any thoughts on the CD Dak Micah drama? Anything you want to say?
No, I think Jerry Jones is an idiot, but that's about it.
This stuff really escalated quickly with that whole LOL tweet. I mean, It's just all been downhill.
The thing, and then Jerry Jones goes on there after and says like, "Hey, you're missed, but we don't miss you because like we need you. We just miss you because we like you." Like, You can't go on and release a statement saying like, we miss you, but we don't need you. Like, pay the man. Pay the man his money.
Half in, half out.
Yeah. This is all in according to Jerry Jones, actually. This is all in.
Yeah, all in.
All in. But And then the last little news tidbit we're going to touch on is Brandon Aiyuk. Old Brandon Aiyuk. It was reported mid last week that there was a deal with him going to the Browns for a second, a fifth, and Amari Cooper. That never came to fruition, but that was the deal they were going to go with. And Amari even like tweeted out or put on his Instagram or something like, "I wouldn't mind it. Wouldn't even hate that." So
apparently, Brandon was the one that came out and said that he told him no.
Yeah. Brandon Aiyuk said no to that.
That's got to be such a shitty situation for Amari Cooper being like, "Oh, I'd love to leave here," and then
I'd love to.
Out that you're not. Like now, all your teammates know you went out. The coaches know.
I mean, everybody wants to go get that bag until the only person that'll play is Cleveland, and then you're like, not. But as of this morning, once again, August 13th. There was a report that there is a deal done between the Steelers and the 49ers. They have not yet released the terms of said deal, which makes me think it is very close to being done. And basically, if the Niners okay it, it's going through. Aiyuk's agreed to it. The Steelers have agreed to it. And now it's in the Niners' hands. So we'll see. They could just be like, I'm good.
Who said that Aiyuk was possibly going to the Steelers?
Right here in my notes it says Lane Cooner said they were going to the Steelers.
Yes,
I think that's who it was.
I hope it goes through. I want to be right about something. God.
He says, I want to be right about something.
Do you guys not think that this situation has been mismanaged by the Niners GM? Like, obviously,
it's a tough situation to be in the first place.
Hold on, how would you have managed it differently?
I would have traded him before the draft. If you were going to trade him, do it before the draft, so you're going to have players on your team.
Well, you can trade him for draft picks next year.
But that's now you're going a season without help. Like,
I think the 49ers know what people like me know and realize he is great because of the system he is in, not because he's a number one receiver. And so they look at it as feasting other teams.
Do you think the Niners get a first-round pick from the Steelers?
No.
I think they do if they trade him before the draft.
No way. No shot.
Yes.
No shot.
I'd give a third for him though.
Listen, you're thinking like Chase Claypool's type stuff. Like that doesn't. The reason that was such like a bad trade is because it was like. The receivers don't go for that. That's not what the market is for receivers. Ceedee Lamb's on the market. If you're going to give up a first, you give up 2 firsts and you go get Ceedee Lamb and pay him an extra $4 million
before the draft. I mean, before the draft, they were still on good terms. They hadn't spiraled into what it was.
Before the draft, the 49ers and Aiyuk were still on good terms. They were still negotiating a contract. So, like, both were in the same position. They didn't know where it would be.
I don't know. I think you get more for him trading him before the draft than you do now. I think it's been mismanaged. And if you're inside, obviously the people inside the building are going to know more than us. If you knew you weren't going to pay Aiyuk, why?
I think they wanted to pay Aiyuk. I just don't think they wanted to. I think that what they offer him like $28 million. I just don't think they want to pay him $33 million, which is what he wants.
Because he turned down 30 with the Patriots, didn't he? Or was
he turned down 30? I thought it was 30. If he turned down 32 from the Patriots, he should like go home and stop playing in the NFL because he's not getting that. He's not getting that anywhere. And I think the Patriots are probably the highest bidders of anybody. That's the scary part. I bet he's going to get somewhere between 28 and 30 from the Steelers. Now they give him a better chance to win, but I think that's the best he could hope for. So we'll see. Hopefully that situation comes to a head and resolves itself here soon so we have news to talk about. But until then, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, leave us a note, leave us a comment, and we'll see you guys next time.